When we try to draw an interior space, such as Gould Court here, what we want to try to do is make sure that we include enough context so that we can imply in a drawing where we are as opposed to what we're looking at. I like to try to establish the boundaries of the drawing. In other words, what's going to be on the left and right, top and bottom, so that we can convey the experience of being in the space as opposed to looking from the outside in. So if I'm looking at this view here, I'm going to try to establish the left wall here, the tables on my right, obviously the floor, and then up to the upper stairway going up to the third floor. And if you look at that, that's about a square format. So in this book here, I could either draw landscape mode or I could draw horizontally like this. But it's important to size the drawing on the page. I'm looking, the drawing's going to occupy about this space. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll draw a piece of the scene and then kind of work outwards. I like to work from the outside in, so I can encompass the entire space. The problem is if you work from the inside out, you could start with something this large and then run out of space as you expand the drawing. So I'm going to quickly try to establish the frame. The important thing, when you look at this space, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of balconies, stairways running through the space, window details, wood paneling on the sides, and so on and so forth. The approach I take is work on the structure first. And if I look at this space, it's basically a box, a volume. So I'm going to try to establish the volume of the space first, and then add in the balconies and stairways and details. Because we're dealing with perspective, one of the things I do first is try to establish either a major edge or a major vertical plane. What I'm going to do here is establish that back wall there as a single plane. Even though there's balconies and a lot of details in it, I'm going to try to visualize that first as a plane and then establish my position relative to that plane. So if I look at that from the floor to the ceiling and I see that as a unit of 1, the space is about as wide as it is high. So that's about a square. And I'm going to assume that's the height of that wall. And now I basically have drawn the court as a simple volume. And now I'm going to establish the floors as 1, 2, 3, 4 floors. I'm going to establish those balconies. I'm going to push that wall back from the balconies. Notice that as planes rise above the horizon line, the more we see of their undersides. I'm going to establish this balcony on the second floor. Okay, so this drawing is obviously not done yet, but the main thing to take away from this is that visualizing this court as a simple volume and establishing that volume initially, that I'm trying to emphasize right here, I think is key, rather than working from the stair or the balconies or any part of that drawing. See it as a volume, establish that volume in perspective, and then work inside of that. If I were to try to continue this drawing further, I would try to establish or push this wall back, establish some values in that wall. So I might try to add value to the underside